What's up, people? Welcome to your one-stop shop for the biggest wrestling stories this week. This is Wrestling Roundup Weekly, and my name is Mex, aka WrestleManiac UK, and I'm alongside my co-host Ignacio. And on today's show, we are talking about Bray Wyatt and how he could make his AEW debut this week, possibly. We'll also round up, Grand Slam week, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, and Rampage Grand Slam. We'll talk about this new AEW mid-card title that it looks like they may be getting very, very soon for the women's division. Extreme Rules is on tonight for everyone that has forgotten or just doesn't care. Extreme Rules pay-per-view for WWE is on tonight. So we'll just talk about some of the matches on that show. And of course, we will go through our highlights of the week. But before we get into all the action, please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to Wrestling Republic on YouTube. Ignacio, how have you been today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just like we discussed just a little bit ago, man. Until you sent me the lineup for today, I didn't even know Extreme Rules was today. I thought it was a couple of weeks from now, and I'm pretty sure people that are listening to this are realizing the same thing.
Everyone's reaction. I was filming some content with some friends earlier today, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you guys watching Extreme Rules?" And everyone's reaction, just like yours, was, "Oh, Extreme Rules is today!" like, so yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's just no one cares. I guess that's what it's become.
No.
Yeah. Right, but let's start from this is the story that kind of broke midweek. Um, Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, formerly known as Bray Wyatt, I should say. Apparently, he has a clause in his contract, which means he can not have to sit out for the whole 90 days. And he obviously will not get paid for that period, but it would make him a free agent instantly. And the rumor mill has picked this one up. And of course, they're running with it, especially because this week, AEW Dynamite will be in Rochester, New York, home of good friend of Wyndham Rotunda, of a good friend of Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, John Huber, the late John Huber, Brody Lee. So obviously, everyone is basically rumoring that Bray Wyatt has ultimately cut his ties fully with WWE at this point. He's activated this clause in this contract that we're talking about, and it is very likely. There has been said that there's been a bidding war between AEW and Impact. Obviously, we would expect AEW to win any financial bidding war if that's what it came down to. But
Yeah.
of course, AEW at the same time, their show is stacked. Impact may be the better place for him to breathe and do more stuff. Of course, it's on a smaller network or whatever the case is. However, apparently, it is almost certain if there is a time for Bray Wyatt to join AEW, it is going to be this week, which it blew my mind when I read it out of nowhere, kind of. I know we've all kind of thought this is where he could end up, but, as soon as this week, Wednesday, Ignacio, what's your thoughts on Bray Wyatt signing with AEW and possibly appearing this week?
Well, now would be as good as time as any to debut. I mean, the AEW, they got the hot hand right now with everybody coming. Adam Cole, Brian Danielson, so forth. The big weekend they just had, the big week they just had on TV and so forth. So right now would be as good a time as any for him to debut. But it's all gonna be on the how. How does he debut? And I know there's been on the rumor mill, of course, Rochester, New York, the home of Brody Lee and so forth, hometown of Brody Lee, and then Brody Lee was in charge of the Dark Order, and I was a big proponent at the beginning of the Dark Order. I like the gimmick, I like the story they were telling, so on and so forth, kind of like a cult following kind of deal, whatever. And then Brody Lee came into the picture, and believe it or not, I didn't exactly agree or think that Brody Lee was the best person for that position.
Yeah.
Best fit for that position. Uh, Basically, pretty much because whoever was going to head up that group was going to have to be a great, not only the leader but a great mouthpiece for that group. And I don't think Brody Lee had proven himself as a great mouthpiece. Now he's a great talent in the ring, no doubt. He had it. What it took in the ring, he was a great worker. But as far as a great mouthpiece, I didn't think he had it. He really had it in him. I think he wasn't giving him that position. Was at first somewhat of a mistake. The only thing that kind of brought him to prominence a little bit as far as that creative was his run with Cody. And I thought that was a really good run and a really good story told in that perspective. Now with
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt, he does have the chops. He's a good worker. He's got the verbal skills. And there's been on the rumor mill that he's going to take over the Dark Order, and I think that'd be a big mistake also because they've been pretty much relegated to a comedy faction. You know, Bray Wyatt just came back from the WWE doing hokey horse shit. Why do you want to jump into AEW and take over a gimmick comedy faction? You know, it's all going to be in the way they debut him. I'd like for him to debut. I'd like them to be successful in AEW. A lot of people love Bray Wyatt, but you know, not with the Dark Order and they're what they've been relegated to at this point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of suggestions that I've seen over the last week is that, Dark Order will split into some, like the heel Dark Order and like the face. So you see Silver and Reynolds on like one side, you'll see
So
like Uno and
NWO and NWO Wolfpack and
basically,
Dark Order.
basically, this is what a lot of
Jesus
people are suggesting, and
Christ.
then maybe like Adam Page will be the leader of, Silver and Reynolds, and Bray Wyatt will be the heel leader. It is very similar to the NWO stuff, and I don't think they'll go down that road. However, you can't help but think if you are going to debut Bray Wyatt in Rochester, New York, it is something that's going to be completely tied to the Dark Order. Do you think when he does come into AEW, if it is this week or some other time down the line, he should be affiliated to the Dark Order, or he should be allowed to do his own thing altogether?
No, well, see, this is the thing is that they were Bray Wyatt and Brody Lee were very good friends. Obviously, that's been told and documented over and over again. So I just think that Bray probably feels somewhat of a connection to the group because of Brody and feels like not obligated, but feels like it's probably his place to take over where Brody left off. And I just think it would be a mistake. I think he's better off kind of creating his own character or doing his own thing or making his own creative and doing it away from the Dark Order, not associating with what's been relegated, like I said, to a comedy group. Start fresh. You have this. A lot of people have had this opportunity already. We've seen in very little time, or over the past year or so. Miro, look what's happening with Miro. He's on top. He's still undefeated, is he not?
Yeah, he is.
So first he started off with a horrible gimmick with Kip Sabian and Blum Bimbo number 4 or whatever, and but no, look, Miro's the undefeated TNT champion. Adam Cole's gonna be great. So coming out of WWE, AEW has a hot hand. Bray Wyatt has a chance to reinvent himself again as he has before successfully, just like with the Fiend until Vince McMahon or whoever got their hands on it and screwed it up. Yeah. So he's a very creative guy, and I'm pretty sure he can come up with something that can be his own and not count on the Dark Order or getting mixed up in that kind of comedy realm there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it was pretty much teased when he was released of this thing that he was calling the Cult of Rotunda, I think, which is obviously his surname. The cult thing is what he's kind of become famous for, if you like. So that could be maybe his own kind of faction or something he may set up, or his own kind of following. Maybe what the Wyatt family should have been. He will kind of play that out if he is to join an AEW. But
then,
just go on. Sorry, go on.
The issue with that is, the issue with that is, and I know it's a little bit different, but with Malachi Black, it's a little bit more serious. But he has a similar gimmick where he's all the way into the occult persona because that's part of him. I'm assuming. Look at his tattoos, but I mean, so now you have some conflict there. So where are you going to go with it? So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, there is a thin line between, you don't want people to start looking alike, basically, and having very similar gimmicks. But yeah, it'll be hard because, I trust for Bray to be able to reinvent himself and all of that kind of stuff. But it's like the crowd are going to maybe want a certain thing from you because this is what they're used to from you. So it's that kind of conflict. Obviously, there's just so many talents coming into AEW. Do you think this is a necessary signing for AEW?
Well, Well, that's just kind of what I was going to allude to right now
Mm,
and ask you is that, well, is it a necessary signing? They got a stacked card right now. They could do without Bray Wyatt. I
yeah.
mean, but I mean, it's just depend how they present him, and it's going to be up to him ultimately. Because if they're AEW is giving these guys the platform to stand out, right?
Mm,
It's at least it seems that way. Okay, they're taking the handcuffs off a little bit as far as these guys, as far as their characters and creative goes
yeah.
on the surface of it. But how challenging is it going to be for Bray Wyatt to stand around with all this talent running around now with a stacked roster? You know, on TV. You know, he's not going to be one on it being AEW Dark, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So he's really going to have to come up with something creative and something good for him to stand out and get to the top of the card because, you know, you got Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole and the Super Click and now Hangman Page is still out. He's going to come back eventually. He's going to be one
That's
on top
true.
of the card. So I think if anything, what we'll benefit from and the fans will benefit from is it's going to be bring out the best in all these people because everybody's going to have to do their best creative, put themselves into these characters, and
Mm,
Bray Wyatt is very good at that. So it's going to be challenging, but I think he'll be able to pull it off and end up on top of the card somewhere. Maybe not
yeah.
immediately, but eventually get there.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And like we said earlier, I think a lot of people would want to see him there. Yeah, cool. I mean, like I said, I was very surprised that it could, it's rumored it could happen as soon as this week. But I guess it all makes sense. All the stars have aligned. This is finally the Rochester show that should have happened during the pandemic when Brody was TNT champion. So this is a show that's been put off for a long time. People have been holding their tickets, and unfortunately, obviously, Brody's not with us anymore. He won't kind of get his big hurrah for coming home. But Bray Wyatt for that crowd, they could probably possibly be as hot as they would for Brody for Bray Wyatt if he was to debut. Last but not least, before we move on, there will be people that will have the regular conversation when stuff like this happens. AEW are signing ex WWE guys. If I'm not wrong, this is probably one of the biggest pure WWE people. Bray Wyatt wasn't someone that toured the indies before he got to WWE.
Yeah.
He's more or less homegrown in WWE. But generally, where do you stand with that whole conversation with AEW and signing WWE guys?
What does it matter?
Exactly.
What does it matter where they, it's just, I heard the term, homegrown talent, just like you kind of mentioned it. And Bray's a homegrown WWE talent. Like you said, if he did do any indies, it probably wasn't for that long or not very notable or what
Yeah.
have you, maybe 6 months or so or whatever. And then he ends up in FCW,
XCW. Yeah.
right? So, I mean, what does it matter where they came from or where? If 3 years from now, if Bray Wyatt's the biggest star in the business, he's no longer going to be a WWE guy. He's going to be an
Exactly.
AEW guy.
Yeah.
So Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, after a while, it's like they weren't WWE guys anymore. They were WCW guys after a while.
It's true.
So it really doesn't matter. It's what you do with the talent once you have it. TNA is a great example. TNA had a stacked roster. At one point, they had Kurt Angle, they had Hulk Hogan, they had Ric Flair, they had Mick Foley, they had Scott Hall, they had Kevin Nash, they had Scott Steiner, they had all these big stars. They had Booker T, and
Mhm.
maybe a lot of these guys were a little bit past their prime by the time they got there, but they still were big names in the
Yeah.
business, and they didn't know how to book their talent.
Mhm.
So it's what you do with the talent. So it doesn't matter where they come from. It shouldn't matter. It's what you do with you got them. Because like I said, 2-3 years from now or whatever, a year from now, a lot of these guys, they're not going to be remembered as being former WWE guys. They're going to be AEW guys because they're going to be thriving there.
You're 100% right. I don't listen to the argument at all, but it's worth talking about because a lot of people they talk about it, and
Yeah.
some of these people, especially some of the ones that went to NXT, and they never got a fair shot in NXT and kind of got released afterwards. At this point, some of them may have actually been in AEW for longer than they were in NXT.
Yeah.
for some people's cases in terms of maybe at least getting TV time since they debuted on NXT TV. So yeah, like I've always argued, in WWE, we all complain, oh, this person's not being treated right, they're not getting the push they deserve, or this, that, and the other. Now that there's another company, they're going to this other company to work and do the stuff we want. And now there's fans complaining, oh, but they're WWE guys. Like, you can't please these people. It's absolutely crazy. But like we
And
said,
you got to think of it this way also. WWE's a whole nother world. They're very character
mm-hmm.
based.
Yes,
Very,
yeah,
very character based. AEW, I'm not saying they're not character based, but in order for the fans to love you, for the most part, you have to be able to get it done in the ring. Do you not in
yeah.
AEW? I mean,
Professional
it's just
wrestling.
that.
That's what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's two totally different atmospheres, So you can't even compare the two.
Yeah, I 100% agree, man. But yeah, let's talk about AEW on a whole. This past week, they gave us, two amazing shows in Dynamite Grand Slam and Rampage Grand Slam, and Grand Slam week, if you like, kicked off with the match for the ages, Brian Danielson versus Kenny Omega, in a 30-minute time limit draw. No result, no winner. It went the entire stretch. I actually thought of you when I was watching this because I thought, okay, this is something against, or it's not what the stuff that I've come to learn that you don't like about wrestling. This is two somewhat wrestling purists literally wrestling in the middle of the ring. So I'm very intrigued to now hear your thoughts on this match.
Are you saying that I wasn't gonna like it?
No,
Is
I
it?
thought you've
Oh
got to
yeah.
like this. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was tremendous. It was like I
yeah.
said, I've said it before. I'm not a big Kenny Omega fan,
Mm,
most of because look, when he's serious and he's a good worker. He can work. He can sell. And it just depends on who he works with. And Daniel Bryan was gonna bring the best out of him. Everybody knew that they were gonna bring the best out in each other. And I venture to say, I mentioned it last week, is that these guys, and a lot of people may disagree, is that they're in their prime right now. And the reason why I say that is because when they wrestled each other in the Indies and ROH and 15 years ago or whatever it was, is
yeah,
they were still immature. Now they're seasoned, they're veterans, they know how to tell a story, they know how to be safe, etc., so forth. So that's why the match was so great, because they're veterans now. They know what they're doing. Yes, there's been injuries in between then on both parts. Brian Danielson, namely, but
yeah.
I mean, he's hitting on all cylinders. It was a tremendous match. I like the whole. They emphasized the time limit, and not people don't like time limits. I like the time limits because it gives you a sense of urgency. It's old
100.
school, just like you mentioned in the beginning. The only thing I didn't like was I just heard it once. I think the ring announcer, Justin Roberts, I just heard 45 seconds. That's it
Yeah,
left. I would have liked to hear 15 minutes left, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 45 seconds, boom. And
yeah,
then the sense of urgency builds up the anticipation. And, they Excalibur mentioned that, well, like, was it Okada and Tanahashi? They wrestled once and 30, 15 seconds or so before the match was over, there was a pinfall
yeah,
or something like that. So there's a sense of urgency there. So I like that. Other than that, yeah, the match was a fucking masterpiece. It was great.
yeah. So like you mentioned, Jason Roberts he mentioned it at 1 minute and I think 45 seconds and
Mhm.
15 seconds left. Um, there have been a lot of split conversations on that. Some people would have said they would have liked, 10 minutes, 5 minutes
Yeah.
countdown. But at the same time, I think people are saying that might kind of foreshadow the ending, that they're going to go all the way to the end. Either way, it was so easy to watch and so good to watch that literally when he said 1 minute remaining, and I was like, whoa, like 30 minutes has kind of gone past already.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, of course, the story that they told, I got the feeling of, remember WrestleMania 18, Rock versus Hogan, and before these guys even touched, the crowd were just losing their minds completely. And of course, Rock versus Hogan is very show business. These are very, in terms of that and their sphere. It was almost like Omega and Bryan is like, it was that, but like these are like maybe two kings of the indies, if you like, or two kings of pro wrestling, pure pro wrestling, and they had that similar kind of Rock Hogan kind of moment in front of this 20,000 crowd that were just absolutely losing their minds. And obviously we saw a lot of Brian's moves from, you know, his moves before WWE, things he used to do, characteristics, things he used to say were all coming out. um is this the greatest TV match you think you've seen?
Uh, I mean, in recent memory, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a few that if I think back, I'm pretty sure there's a few of them that maybe I could say were better. But in recent memory, yeah, this is the best matches I've seen at least in AEW
Yeah,
since Cody and Dustin. I think
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
best match that AEW's had so far, and it's like you said, Hogan and Rock was Hogan and Rock was an attraction match,
yeah,
right? This was an attraction match plus the guys can work,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
Hogan. And when people ask me what was your favorite match ever to watch, it's Hogan and Rock because, and it may surprising, it's Hogan and Rock because of the atmosphere, and it was my
yeah,
favorite match to watch with my friends because we were
yeah,
all there and we were all divided. But yeah, this match was a masterpiece, man. To answer your question, yeah, it's the best match that AEW's put on since Cody and Dustin, and in recent memory, the best match on TV. I can't really think off the top of my head anything else that's been better in the past. Definitely, maybe the past 2 or 3 years.
yeah. Dave Meltzer gave it 5 stars. It's no coincidence that it took Daniel Bryan to leave WWE before he got 5-star rating. I don't put much measure into the star ratings and all of that. It's one person's opinion.
Uncle Dave,
Yeah, he's not
crazy
my
Uncle
uncle.
Dave.
But I do find it hard to rate a match or give a match a rating that didn't have a actual winner, like an actual conclusion somewhat. Do you see what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, you're right. I agree. What opinions aside, yeah, I agree. I mean, we didn't get a definitive winner as far as storytelling. It's
Yeah.
5 stars.
Mm.
Because eventually I think we're gonna come back to it.
Yeah.
Not right away. A lot of people say this is a build up for a pay per view, but I don't think that they're gonna main event uh, Full Gear. Uh,
No.
I think maybe Hangman's gonna come back, and I know they were supposed to main event All In,
Yeah.
All Out, and I think they're gonna circle back and come back to Hangman, but I think Brian Danielson will eventually it'll full circle. He needs to get some wins, right, on
100%.
TV and then pay per view, and then eventually they'll circle back and come back with Kenny Omega. And now is he going to be the guy to take the belt off him? Man, possibly.
Yeah, this is the thing now. Like, where does Daniel Bryan go from here? It seems like the plan is still Adam Page to Kenny Omega for the title, possibly in November at Full Gear. But
But
it,
what is this? What I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm sorry, but
it's fine.
what is these with people? The same thing with Becky Lynch, and she wasn't having the push of a lifetime like Lacey Evans. She
Mhm.
was in a program with Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair, and it wasn't the greatest story ever. It was horrible, but it was the biggest push of her career.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch, like I said, her jets were cooling, but she was still on top. Hangman Page is about to get the push of a lifetime. They're possibly going to put the title on him, and they're having children. What the fuck is this?
you
They're
know,
missing out
the
on.
thing. The thing with Hangman's decision is it's a bit baffling to me because I understand if he wants to be there for his missus and all of that, and yeah, that should be a thing, but he's not bearing the child. He's not carrying the child. I'm not sure whether the wife has had the child yet or not. Unless there's kind of complications and he really does need to be there. Moxley was around right up to his kid came out. And after his kid came out, Moxley was still on TV the week after, and the week after that, and the week after that. Moxley hasn't even taken the break that everyone was rumoring, like, oh, he's going to drop the title because Renee's pregnant. No, he didn't. He didn't. He continued. So I'm not sure why Adam Page has been gone for so long. Like, you're not pregnant. You're not pregnant. Your wife is, and
I
it's
I don't
baffling to
get
me.
it. Yeah, I don't get it. You're in the middle of having the biggest career bump in your life or career advancement in your life push, and then you're missing out on millions of dollars, and you're having. I don't have anything against that. I don't have kids, but I don't have anything against
Mm.
having kids. But god dang, that be a great college
Timing.
fund, great in the bank account for you to have that money that comes with having a top spot. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I digress. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good point, and like you said, you pointed out a couple of examples. But like we said, the biggest of them all is Moxley, and Moxley had a
Mm-hmm.
kid, and the whole world knew, and it didn't change a damn thing. It didn't change a damn thing. So I mean, you know, hopefully everything is okay with him and his wife and his wife and the
Yeah.
expecting child, and it's not a thing where he needs to be around because there's complications. Hopefully it's a smooth ride and everything, but it is very weird that for the man, he isn't the one bearing the child. He's not on TV even in some capacity where he doesn't have to wrestle or something like that, just to kind of keep the story ticking along.
Yeah.
Look at even NXT, Candice LeRae announced she's pregnant. She's been on TV every week since. She's still doing something. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? So, yeah, it is a good point to make. It's a very baffling one. Adam Page, we'll see where it is. But like I said, Daniel Bryan, AEW make long term stories. And they know who their probably next 2 to 3 champions will be in order. That's how kind of prepared they are. However, things can always change if the story, determines that to change. And I'm just thinking now with Adam Page a bit AWOL and cool down a bit, because he was gathering momentum, but he's cooled down a bit. Could the fans more than anyone push Daniel Bryan in a similar kind of WrestleMania 30 way towards the title, get some wins behind his belt, and get him to that Kenny Omega match again? Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I don't think with in WWE with Vince McMahon, it was like fucking pulling teeth. I mean,
Yeah,
damn, they brought that's the time that they brought Batista back, and they thought Batista was going to be the one to put they were going to put the rocket ship on him,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
thought he was going to be the one to bring back up business. 45-year-old or 47 whatever year old Batista, whatever he was at the time.
yeah,
Uh, Obviously, Batista was a big star, but he had lost his luster. He had been gone out of the business for 5 years at that point, and what have you.
yeah.
And he wasn't the excuse me, he didn't have the following
Mm,
that Daniel Bryan had. Now,
yeah.
yeah, it's not going to take if they think that Daniel Bryan's going to do better business for him, then absolutely they'll switch gears. I think that's kind of interesting. You said that they've planned out their next 2 or 3 champions, whatever. And I know you're taking an educated guess there and everything, but
Mm.
I mean, you still believe that, even though they've signed Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole and Bray Wyatt's coming in. Do you still think they're still going? Do you still think they're going to go Hangman Page?
Yeah, so like you said, I do think there's an element of we can change it because of business, especially because of business. If they know, and I think the likes of Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, I don't think they necessarily have an interest in becoming champion. Adam Cole would be someone that has an interest in becoming champion, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
the older guys probably wouldn't. But if they realize, okay, if I can at least become champion, if that means that a younger talent like an Adam Page would then have to beat me to help him and this company in the long term, let's do that. I think they're prepared to do something like that. And I think that, like I say, Daniel Bryan might be very much like, okay, well, I don't want the title, guys, but if it means I can now help someone else get over down the line, if Tony Khan wants it, let's do it. So I do still think they have a plan for their champions, but you're right, with all the new guys that have come in, they may have to change course at any particular time. Um,
not to mention they're,
yeah,
I mean, on a consistent basis every day, for the most part on every show, they're building a star.
yeah,
Every
literally.
segment, they're building a star. So who knows in between then?
Yeah, yeah, literally. And they've got obviously the TNT title as well that they can use in the interim to and test things out
Sure.
with, if you like. So yeah, I mean that was just the beginning of a great show, a great week. Rampage on Friday was great. And then of course we had the main event of the Dynamite show was Brit Baker versus Ruby Soho for the AEW Women's World Title. I like the fact that this match was in the main event. It's showing a lot of respect for the champion. This was a championship match. Obviously, Omega Danielson wasn't a championship match, so putting the women in the main event on such a big night, I felt was good. It was good for the title, and it's just what they should be doing. I could never ever see WWE paying that kind of reverence to a title. They would put a non-title match in the main event. They've put more, insignificant matches in main events.
Yeah.
So it was good to see this. Before the match, I was pretty sure Britt Baker would retain. She did retain. However, I felt like over the course of the match, I sold myself a dream maybe that Ruby Soho was gonna win this. What did you think of this match in general?
Well, this was my issue with the match, not necessarily the match itself. It was a great match, but the build up. I mean, Ruby Soho, she's a great star. She's a star among the hardcore, especially the indie fans. But she wasn't exactly, and I'm not saying it was her fault, but she wasn't exactly setting the world on fire in WWE because they didn't give her the opportunity. So she wasn't like Daniel Bryan or Adam Cole. Like, she wasn't on a roll.
Yeah.
Coming out of WWE, she wasn't on fire. So, I think they should have went another route. I think then this is the problem with the women's division in general. Nobody's on fire. Nobody's on a roll. There's nobody there to feed Britt Baker. So they bring in Ruby Soho because she's pretty good in the indies. She's a name. She's a name in the indies. People know who she is. People know she's good, so they threw her in there. But now, where does she go from there? Now, who's up next for Britt Baker? Where's Thunder Rosa? Thunder Rosa is probably the best as far as in-ring talent that they have, other than Serena Deeb. Where Serena Deeb's injured, Thunder Rosa's been on Dark. Why is she on Dark? She'll cut a promo on Dynamite and Rampage, but I mean, where's she been? She needs to be seen on TV, getting some wins. And I know this is, maybe we can bleed into another topic later on, but they're coming out with this secondary intermediate women's title. They got to start building some women's talent, not only for Britt Baker, but to build up the legitimacy of this title they're coming up with.
You're right. I think we saw Thunder Rosa have a promo. I think it was on Rampage this past week, and I thought, okay, brilliant. Brit's had her match on Wednesday. She's retained. Promo by Thunder Rosa. I was all ears, ready to listen to the promo. And then she mentioned Nyla Rose and she mentioned Jade Cargill and what she's doing with them. And I was thinking, okay, like, yes, she has unfinished business with them, but Britt Baker needs challenges. Like you said, Britt Baker needs challenges. And I was actually mentioning this to a friend earlier today. With the men's division, we have the champions, like, let's say in all of the different divisions, if you like. At the top, we've got Kenny Omega as champion, but there are still other stars up there. There's CM Punk, there's Bryan Danielson, there's Adam Cole, there's Malachi Black. There's other stars apart from the champion. But in the women's division, the champion is the star, and there are no other stars in that division. There's a lot of other women, there's a lot of other talented women, but there's no other stars. So they even, look away from the championship, they can't even really tell a story with the other ladies in the division, because it's like almost nobody cares. Like this stuff Anna Jay is doing with the Bunny and Penelope, I do not care.
No.
I don't care. They're having decent matches, but the general story is just whatever. There's no one to carry. There's no other stars to carry this division. I know they're really working hard with Jade Cargill, still very green within the ring, but they're missing this star power. They need to really, like the Thunder Rosas that you mentioned, and there's surely some other names. Mercedes Martinez is a free agent. They need to. I don't even know you can class her as a star, to be completely honest. But like, there's just some people they need to put lower down in the card. Maybe Mickey James. I know she's over in Impact doing stuff, but they need to put some other star females in that division to actually tell stories away from the title, to prepare these ladies, like you said, to be able to feed to the champion. Because right now it's they're feeding people to the champion, and it's just like, they're gonna run out of people very soon until they get
Yeah,
to the likes of Thunder Rosa that will probably beat Britt Baker. Yeah, they just need to build up stories away from the title.
I think that, and then another issue is the time constraint. They're packing the men's division so much.
Yeah,
They want to give the opportunity for these guys to shine, especially the guys that they spend a lot of money on bringing
yeah.
in. They only got a 2-hour show on Wednesday and a 1-hour show on Friday, and then they got the YouTube stuff. But who watches that shit? I mean, there's only so much wrestling. There's only so many hours in the day
So
to
many
fucking
time in a
watch
day. Yeah,
wrestling. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So, I mean,
Even there, they're not telling stories. They're just having
no,
matches.
they're just
It's
having exactly.
AEW signed person versus indie star, and the AEW signed person wins the match, and then it's the
Yeah.
next one, and it's the next one. It's that's what it is. So yeah, they need to do that. But let's move on, because you mentioned something which is one of our news topics for today. AEW came out this past week, and they've announced that there's going to be a a mid card title, if you like an equivalent to the men's TNT championship. That is going to be the TBS championship. I'm waiting for confirmation on that as a name for the title. But it'll be basically the women's mid card network title, if you like, with AEW having a move to mid card. Sorry, having a move to TBS in the new year, I believe. What do you think of that? And generally, do the women need a mid card title?
No, because they don't have any stars right now. Like who's gonna? It's kind of like when AEW started, they needed somebody to legitimize their title, their world championship. So they got Jericho at the time, and he was the best option for that. Uh, unless they got CM Punk at the time, which they were trying to do, but they didn't. Whatever. So it's gonna be Jericho. So yeah, like I said, they don't have stars in the women's division right now. So I assume this title is going to be Miro's going to stay on TNT defending the
The
he's going to
TNT
be the
title.
star of the TNT show, which is
Yeah.
going to be Rampage. Then they're still going to air Rampage on
Uh,
TNT.
so is it Dynamite that's moving to TBS?
Yes.
Okay,
So
I didn't
so I
know.
think so I think I'm like maybe 75% sure, but if that's the case, then Miro's going to I'm assuming then Miro's going to be stay on Rampage or whoever the TNT champion is, and then the women's mid card title is going to stay on TBS on Dynamite. Dynamite, they're going to get a lot of TV time. They're probably going to be on TV every week. So you got to have a big star there. You got to start building your big star to legitimize that title. The only one that comes to mind right now is probably the only other legitimate star they have on the roster. Well, two is either Thunder Rosa or Serena Deeb. Other than that, maybe a Ruby Soho.
Yeah, I mean, all of those names are very good. They should probably be going after the actual women's title, rather than the mid card one, if you like.
Mm.
But like you said, it's all about building stars, man. I think Jade Cargill is someone that they are giving a lot of promo time to, but it's like backstage and stuff. So I don't feel like the crowd are actually feeling it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, Britt Baker, when she first came to AEW, was a face doing next to nothing. Nobody cared about her face character or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, it's like they literally took a leash off her. They gave her a mic and said, just go off in front of the crowd every week in the middle of the ring and just piss people off. And she literally took the ball and ran with it. Turned into, this great talker, turned into like a pivotal person in the women's division. And I think they need to do something similar with Jade Cargill. Now, I know Jade Cargill is nowhere near ready in the ring. She is still very green, having very kind of quick squash matches and stuff. But they are clearly invested in Jade Cargill. They've given her a manager as well, so that could help. They give her a lot of promo time, like I mentioned, but it's all kind of backstage stuff. I think you just need to let her go into the middle of the ring. She made her debut like that. If you
Mm-hmm.
remember in the Cody segment, she made her debut, just came out, live mic, Brandy came out afterwards. What happened there happened. I just think away from the names you mentioned, Serena Deeb, Thunder Rosa, Ruby Soho, which are the more or less the experience within that division. If they're looking at like a star that they can create, and maybe, like I say, yeah, Jade Cargill for me is the choice. She could almost even have like a Miro-esque run with that
Mhm.
championship. You're just kind of squashing people and just moving on to whoever's next. Um, Other than that, there's names like, Tay Conti gets a lot of TV time, and Jay now she's back getting a lot of TV time. But I don't know. I don't know. Like for a first kind of inaugural champion, it probably has to be one of the names that you mentioned, and then maybe they make a star of someone like Jade Cargill with a big win over, like say Ruby Soho for the title or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
She got a great look. She looks amazing. I mean, she looks
Yeah,
like a star. Like she
yeah,
looks like
yeah,
movie quality star. No, she doesn't have it in the ring yet, but I mean, with work, I mean, she can have a solid match with somebody that can work with her, like a
yeah,
Thunder or a Ruby Soho or whatever, whoever's going to lead the match. And she can have a run like Miro, and she has the Smart Mark's a good. He's an all right mouthpiece. He's good, so she's got the
yeah,
mouthpiece. So, but I just really think it has to be somebody experienced. They can is a good worker. They can lead a match, at least at the beginning, to capture that title, hold that title, to kind of legitimize it, and then give them a little run, and then have somebody like Jade, who they're building up, take it
yeah.
off of them.
Take it off them. And then even like I said, they can go the mirror way, but even just now, when I'm thinking about it, they could even slow it down a bit if they give her like as a first challenger, if she was champion, the likes of Serena Deeb, and her and Serena Deeb can go back and forth for like a month or whatever. So it's not kind of okay, done with her, moving on. That is almost like a learning period with one of the greats. Like if you can have that month facing her, clashing with her, promos against her, and then move on to the next one, Thunder Rosa or Ruby. Same, have that learning curve. So she's literally learning on the job with at being champion. I don't think
Yeah.
that will it'll benefit her a lot. But I mean, ultimately, we're saying the same thing. They want to bring in a mid-card title, but there's no other big names ready to carry that division, and they need to start making stars away from the championships. Even Shida is one person I just remember, like, yes, there is the language barrier, but she can go in the ring. Every time they gave her a championship match, that woman performed to a very high level. And since she lost the championship, she's just been on dark. Like, we haven't even seen her. Like, so
I forgot about her until you mentioned her.
it's crazy. This is
Hasn't been on
someone that
TV.
she was champion for what, a year?
Yeah, yeah.
It's madness.
Yeah, so it's just I didn't even think about it until you mentioned her. I was like, well, there you go. Well, there's somebody who can work, somebody who can legitimize the title. Like you said, there's the language barrier, but you know, it could be like WWE like had the Intercontinental title, or the in WCW the TV title
Yeah.
was the workers title.
Mm.
It was the workers belt, the guy that can work and be featured on TV all the time. So
Yeah.
Sheeta fits that mold.
100%. Yeah, very interesting, that they want to bring a women's title out so soon, a secondary one. I think it possibly could also lead to a second hour of whatever they're gonna do. Maybe
Oh.
Rampage goes to a second hour. Um, to kind of just give more time for these titles and stuff to breathe, or maybe these titles can maybe help put eyes on their YouTube shows if they want to take the title over there and do some defenses. That could help as well.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I mean, we'll see. It is still early days, but we'll talk about it a bit more maybe once we have a confirmed name and anything else they're gonna do around that. Quickly before we move over to WWE, obviously as well, this last week they mentioned that of their partnership with the Owen Hart Foundation, and they're gonna do this kind of Owen Hart Cup tournament every year. Just what's your initial reaction to hearing that and your thoughts on that?
Oh, what I thought was, and I'm pretty sure WWE done. I'm pretty sure they don't give a fuck anymore. But man, what a kick in the balls that was for Owen Hart, the Owen Hart for Hart family to Martha Hart in particular, for
Yeah,
her to associate herself with AEW,
yeah,
giving WWE the big middle finger. But Man, I think it's awesome. I was a
Yeah,
big Owen Hart fan. Owen Hart and Bret Hart were two of my favorites of all time. So yeah, I think it's with the Owen Hart Foundation, and they're going to be doing stuff for charities and stuff like that. And there's going to be now you can get him. Now you can have Owen Hart like in action figures and video
yeah,
games and apparel and stuff like that, and t-shirt. I'm pretty sure they'll bring t-shirts. So that's pretty cool, man. That they were able to build a rapport with her and start that relationship. I think they've been working on it for what they said over a year or something, or 6
yeah,
months.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. So and if they're gonna have this tournament every year, it's got to be MLW. I don't know if you watch MLW. They had something called the Opera Cup.
the Opera Cup. Yeah,
Uh, yeah. So they did something similar. It was a tribute to Stu Hart, I guess, or something like that. The Hart family who won it 80 years ago or something like that. I don't know. But I mean,
okay.
yeah, Davey Boy won it. And then they have Filthy Tom won it. So I'm pretty sure that it's going to be something similar. So whoever wins that tournament, it's going to have to like kind of be like a legit
Yeah,
shooter almost. It's got to be somebody good. I'm excited
I
about it, man.
Yeah, no, likewise. I'm very excited about it. I think everyone we all love tournaments that make sense, and just it's a good way to just book matches, really good matches. Um, I've put out a bit of an early prediction that if we are to see Kevin Owens become Kevin Steen over in AEW, that he could be a good inaugural winner. He is a massive Owen Hart's fan. Kevin Owens, the name, spurned from being a Kevin Owens fan. He
Yeah.
named his son Owen because of Owen Hart. So I think if he is to go over to AEW, he could be a massive name that could be good to win that cup for the first time. Um, but yeah, they haven't said when they're scheduling it for or anything like that. We
Yeah.
just have to kind of
Well,
wait and see.
I'm gonna go back a little bit on what I said. It's probably going to be somebody like Kevin Owens who can go, or maybe Daniel Bryan or somebody like that. But I'm
Yeah,
gonna since he has a kind of a close association somewhat with the Hart family because of his dad and so forth. I'm gonna probably go and say it's probably gonna be Brian Pillman Jr.
yeah, that would be another good shout. I do hope they kind of not in your face kind of theme the tournament, but if they make it like the tournament for worker kind of guys, like the
Yeah,
technicians, um, very much like Owen Hart was. I think that could be really really good. Um, so yeah, that's on the horizon. Something on the AEW calendar every year to look forward to. Probably will start that next year. But
absolutely.
we're gonna go over to the world of WWE. We're gonna talk Extreme Rules as they
Oh,
are having they are having a pay per view tonight. We do have to kind of discuss this, I guess. And we'll just kind of run through the card if we care about a particular match, our predictions, all that usual chat. So we'll start with Liv Morgan versus Carmela. I mean, this match practically came out of nowhere. They were having a tag match. Carmela escaped because she thought she broke her nose. Liv Morgan challenged her to a match at Extreme Rules. Carmela said yes. No real meaning behind this match. No real feud or blood feud or anything. It seems to me like this is just part of it's one of Liv Morgan's first singles matches on a pay-per-view. I think her second maybe, and it's just designed to give Liv Morgan a win on pay-per-view. I can't really see the other point of having this match. What do you think?
which yeah, I mean it's Extreme Rules, but I haven't announced any extreme matches, right?
Bro, they were
You
they announced the whole card I think sometime last week, and then at the minute literally it's as if they announced the card and realized on Extreme Rules there's no extreme matches, so then they made Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor an Extreme Rules match,
That's what
which is
did they
a no
did they
DQ.
forget?
They
Did they
forgot. They
forgot?
100% forgot because they were all singles matches before Roman Reigns' match was announced as an Extreme Rules match.
Well, I mean,
And
with Liv Morgan, it's been I don't know, it's been a lot of stops and starts with her. Like sometimes it seems like they're gonna give her a shot and feature her, or give her a push or something, and then they pump the brakes back, and then
yeah,
that hurts your momentum.
it does.
You know, it hurts your momentum. So it's a lot of stops and starts. So unless she gets a win on pay per view, fine. It's against Carmella, who hasn't really been relevant in WWE for the past 2, maybe even 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's just for her to get a win, and maybe hopefully they do something with her afterwards. But other than that, it's just Bambi on ice or whatever.
Generally, what's your thoughts of Liv Morgan? Because she seems to be quite a fan favorite, but I'm not too sure why. Like, I don't see anything. Like, I don't know. Do you?
No, I mean they've kind of given her the opportunity to kind of let her personality shine once in a
Yeah.
while. Like I said, it's just a lot of stops and starts, and that she's become a little bit better in the ring.
Mm.
But I mean, they need to put her in the ring with people that are gonna make her better, not Carmela. Carmela's not that she's not a great worker either. I mean, they need to put her in the ring with like Natty Neidhart, like with Natalia and people that can work with her and make her better, make her a better in-ring performer, and then people will start paying attention. But like I said, it's just a lot of stops and starts. I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, it's Vince McMahon, and we all know Vince McMahon's appetite when it comes to female wrestlers. She's just another blonde on the roster.
Yeah. I'm just literally reading some breaking news that has come through that it looks like Liv Morgan and Carmella has been moved to the pre-show of the show.
There
Which
you
is
go.
it seems to be very fitting, as we're saying. This basically came out of nowhere, 1 week build, um, and yeah, pre-show. So let's move on to the actual
Please.
card. We got the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, the Usos, part of the Bloodline, defending against the Street Profits. Kind of, obviously the Usos are doing their thing with Roman. The Street Profits out of nowhere decided to kind of stop messing around with Otis and Chad Gable and challenge for the titles. And again, not a lot of meaningful build, but here we are with this match. What do you think's gonna happen?
That's the story with most of these matches. They just thrown together.
Yeah.
Man, basically because of his personality, I'm not so much of a big fan of his style, but basically because of his personality, Montez Ford, he's going to be a big star. You know, I think give it 2 or 3. Eventually, give it a year, 18 months. He'll eventually go on his own. He's going to be a star because his personality is engaging. He can engage the crowd. He's got a little bit of mic skills and so forth. And then people fall in love with his style because he does the high flying bullshit a little bit. But I mean, so he's going to be a star. He looks like a star. Always been a big fan of the Usos ever since they dropped the hokey Samoan gimmick, whatever.
Yeah.
And they came into their own with their own characters here. And I'm pretty sure they put a lot of themselves into these characters or what have you. And they can work a good match. You know, they're probably the best tag team in WWE right now on the main roster. I can't think of anybody else. They don't give a shit about the tag team division. So they just throw 2 guys together and there you go. A la Randy Orton and Riddle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be an all right match, but it's just like, man, there's not much of a build. And like I said, they don't put a lot of stock in the tag team division or the championships anymore. You know, it's just basically what the Usos are or just the henchmen to Roman Reigns right now.
Yeah. Again, I think Usos will retain here. The bloodline stuff is going strong, so I don't expect them to drop it.
No.
And just on Montez Ford, like you were just saying, I actually feel like obviously we saw him on Friday on his own. Dawkins had to attend a friend's wedding, I think they said. I actually think that was pretty much an audition for what can this guy do on his own. And he done well. He done well. Obviously, he had his match, the main event with Roman Reigns. Pretty entertaining match they put on. Obviously, he got beaten by the Bloodline afterwards. Finn Balor came out. Blah blah blah. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, like you said, it's almost like it's a matter of time before they split the New Day. Could happen as soon as this Friday at the draft. You know, if they send Dawkins over to Raw and then leave Montez on SmackDown, where his wife is as well, of course.
Forgot about that.
We have to remember these guys have done everything. NXT tag team champions, Raw tag team champions, SmackDown tag team champions, and maybe in that sense they gave them everything a bit too soon. There is nothing new they can do
Oh,
with
yeah.
these guys apart from turn them heel or split them up. So we may see it as early as this week on in the draft.
Hopefully, you can hope. Huh. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the, and they always say is because most of these drafts that they have are much ado about nothing. It's just
Yeah,
maybe 1 or 2
meaningless.
guys that switch over that are relevant, and then the guys, the undercard guys or preliminary guys that do switch over, they don't do anything with anyway. So
Yeah, no, you're right. That's exactly it. It's just to give up. They say new matchups, but we've seen them all before.
Yeah.
Um, United States Championship. We've got Damian Priest, the champion, defending against Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy kind of slipped into this existing match um, by beating Sheamus, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Jeff Hardy, I mean, he's went from literally main event, the main event show, not the main event, to chasing around the 24/7 title, to now being on the Extreme Rules card, fighting for the United States Championship in 3 weeks. He's done three different things in 3 weeks, and again, another example of there's just no long-term story here. He's just doing whatever they kind of push him into. I can't help but think he's being put in this match so that Sheamus doesn't take another pin. Damian Priest probably pins Jeff Hardy for the win. But I just thought this is a triple threat match, so that means there's no DQ. So they've got another no DQ match on the Extreme Rules card. What's your thoughts on this match?
Man, I don't like triple threat matches to begin with. Not the way not the way they run them, but it's another much ado about nothing. That's why they put Hardy in there to take the pin, and then the feud with Sheamus is going to go on even further, right? If that happens, I mean, because Sheamus is going to say, "Well, you didn't pin me."
I think Sheamus. I think Sheamus is possibly they don't want to pin him because he might possibly move on to become a challenger for Big E on Raw for the WWE Championship. Someone that Big E
really?
can beat. You see what I mean? Yeah, yeah. You know, Sheamus is relatively up there. They keep him up there, upper mid card. Big E can get a win over Sheamus on, after he finishes with Bobby Lashley. I think why would they make this match a triple threat match otherwise? Why can't
Yeah.
Damian Priest just pin Sheamus again?
Well, look,
I think yeah.
I'm not. No, I'm not laughing at your opinion or anything. Let me just get that straight, right? I'm laughing at the fact that your big matchup or program is going to be combating Kenny Omega with Daniel Bryan. It's going to be Big E and Sheamus.
Look, let's get it right. They don't care about the WWE Championship right now. I think we all know
Okay.
that they care about the title that Roman has. Roman is the guy that's drawing for them, so they care what he's doing. I don't think they care about anything else in terms of with the other titles and stuff. So
yeah,
I 100% agree with you. It's laughable. It's laughable if that's what you're trying to combat. But yeah, I definitely think that because I don't understand why Jeff Hardy's just been put into this match. It's to protect Sheamus, surely.
Look, the only thing I'll tell you is it's going to be a win for Damian Priest either way. And man, he's going to be a star. There's another guy who has a lot of potential. He has a different look. He has the voice. He did some good promos on NXT, and ever since they moved up to the main roster, they gave him scripted crap that he's. I think a lot of the problem with these promos that these guys are trying to convey or get out is that the dialogue doesn't match their character. You see what I'm saying? The content doesn't match the person that they're trying to present. There's that gag with Roman Reigns and the suffering succotash thing or whatever he said on Raw.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. The dialogue that they're giving these people don't match their character. So it's just weird. Right. There's a conflict there. So that's one thing. If they just let them go and just ask them, hey, just keep it in between the lines. What do you want to say? If you were gonna get in a fight, if this was a UFC fight, and you were cutting a promo before the match, what would you say? And just take it from there. Yeah, I don't get it. I
don't. They rarely give people that freedom. Like even even with Roman and they're kind of giving him that freedom now, it's only because Paul Heyman is helping to kind of curate it and stuff like that as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's just one of those things. 3 more matches. Let's run through them quickly. Raw Women's Championship: Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss. I actually think there's potential for Alexa Bliss to win the title here.
For Alexa to win. Okay.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, we all know Charlotte wins. LOL. That's always a thing. But Alexa Bliss is. There's a bit of mind games here going on. Of course, she still has the supernatural stuff in her back pocket. Do you think Alexa Bliss can walk out as champion?
Well, of course, anything's possible, but it's just, God, I'm laughing again. I'm sorry. It's the crowd. Look, I think the issue is that the crowd, they like Alexa Bliss, but they don't like the fucking character.
The
They
gimmick,
don't. They
yeah, the
don't.
gimmick is dead.
The gimmick. It's just. And Alexa Bliss, before she started all this, she was horrible at first, and then she learned how to be a good worker because it seemed like she actually cared about her craft.
Yeah.
And she became a good, and then was able to have good matches and so forth. But God, this thing is just fucking ridiculous and embarrassing every time. I'm embarrassed for her. She says she's having fun. The issue is with these people that get into the wrestling business that weren't fans, because she wasn't a fan. She wasn't a wrestling fan. She was a power lifter, fitness model, or whatever. Is they don't know when they're making fun of the business. And that is making a mockery of the business with her character, what she's doing. Yeah. So they've been building her up pretty good, though. So, yeah, there is a good chance there can be some shenanigans and she can beat Charlotte. Yeah. I'll go with you. She's going to win it. Do you think she's going to win?
I think there's a strong possibility. I'll go for her just to be different from Charlotte winning, but of course, never be surprised if Charlotte wins. Let's talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bianca Belair chasing back the championship she lost at SummerSlam against Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch retains, surely. First defense.
Oh yeah. Look, they're both good. Right, Bianca's she's natural. I mean, she still needs some work, right? But I mean, especially her promo skills. But man, as far as Becky, she's doing good playing the heel. But God, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people agree. I just don't believe her. Like not that I don't believe her. It's just that's just not her. That's not the man that everybody came to love and respect and everything, and she plays a good heel. She knows how to talk.
She's playing Conor McGregor right now.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, exactly. But it's just, God, it's just, man, she's doing great at it, but that's just not her. That's not who the fans really want her to be. Yeah, Yeah. And she's definitely not as hot as she was at her peak as the man. She's nowhere near there. She's flip-flopped her to heel because whatever is going on with Sasha Banks is going on, and she took some time off or whatever, injury, personal things, whatever. So they needed somebody to be a hot heel. So the theory is best time to make somebody a hot heel is when they're a hot babyface. They tried to do that with Becky, and man, I don't think the fans believe it.
No, you're right, and we said this straight after SummerSlam when she won it. The hardest thing they're gonna have to do now is make her a believable heel, and it's been a struggle. The week where they were in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is where Bianca Belair is from, obviously helped because that was Bianca's hometown, so they booed the hell out of her, but they still cheered. They'll still cheers for her there, It's very, very difficult. And I recently went to, WWE were in Europe over the past week or so. So last Monday I went to WWE Live, and the main event was Bianca versus Becky, and Bianca was getting booed in London, and Becky was getting cheered. So yeah, that is the most difficult.
Becky's from is she from
Ireland.
London?
She's from Ireland, yeah.
Okay.
It's our neighbors, yeah. So definitely it's one of those things. But let's talk about the main event, and this should be more or less straightforward. Universal Championship, Roman Reigns defending against the Demon Finn Balor in an Extreme Rules match. I mean, it doesn't seem to matter who you put in front of Roman Reigns these days. Roman Reigns is retaining, right?
Yeah. I mean, but we can just hope it's going to be a good match. And it has Roman in it, has Paul Heyman in it, it has Finn Balor, so it's going to be a good match. But the only thing is now Finn Balor's in cosplay, so
I just wish they just didn't Why didn't they just make it Finn Balor versus Roman
Fuck,
Reigns? Because the demon
I don't
thing has
know.
been protected on the main roster, and now they're literally gonna kill it for Roman to continue. But they
Yeah.
didn't even need to involve the demon at all.
No, it could have been straight up Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns. It would have been great. It's gonna be it's gonna be a good match. But Roman's, I mean, he's hot right now, man. The head of
Yeah,
the table, the tribal chief.
yeah,
It's gonna be a good match. But it's like, man, god dang, Finn Balor. I really thought that he was gonna come around. It's not his fault again. Come
yeah,
around and get that title run that he really deserves, especially coming off that hot run in NXT
yeah.
with the NXT title. Oh man, but Jesus.
Ah,
Are
it's
they
one of them ones.
disappointed over there in the UK about this? About Finn Balor? Are they?
Um, I think generally people have given up on the idea of Finn Balor maybe becoming champion just because we know the usual stuff, the height and the size and all of that kind of stuff. Like, and Roman right now is on a complete tear. I think if there's anyone that's going to really do it for the UK, everyone's hopes is still on Drew. Everyone really wants Drew to become champion. Drew was very, very popular, obviously, on the UK tour last week. So,
Nick,
yeah,
as far as so is Drew really the go-to for everybody there in the UK? He's got the support of everybody there.
in terms of obviously the biggest product in the world, which is WWE, yeah, Drew's our guy. He's our hometown guy.
Okay.
Drew's from Scotland. Obviously, we're in England, so
Yes.
he's not our guy like that, but he's our closest. You see what I mean? So,
Okay. Well, I was gonna
yeah,
say because it's kind of because I think here in the States, I think it's his Jets have cooled,
yeah, yeah,
in my opinion. But it's kind of reminds me of something that Nick Aldis said. Nick Aldis said one time that Hulk Hogan was America's champion,
mm,
right? But Bret Hart was the world's champion
yeah.
in Canada, the UK, Japan, or so. I think maybe it's something like that scenario.
Could be. Could be. I mean, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't. A lot of people here have obviously started watching AEW, so they don't
Oh,
even
okay.
have much of an opinion on WWE anymore at all. So,
Jesus
so
Christ.
yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. I think WWE have recently just announced, and maybe we'll talk about this a bit more next week's show, that they are going to do a stadium show in the UK next year. They've already said
Oh.
it's probably going to be September, 90,000. So that's our Wembley Stadium.
Ooh.
That and they say September, but that's around SummerSlam, or it's just a bit late for SummerSlam. If we'll see. But that will surely be Drew walking in as champion or Drew leaving as champion. It's gotta be. Um,
Well,
but
now that you mention it, yeah.
yeah, if they go ahead with that plan of the show, which they probably will do because AEW have announced they're coming to UK next year, so of course WWE's got to run there and steal the market
Yeah.
before AEW get here. But yeah, if they've got to do it, I think that will be Drew's crowning moment. And to be honest, him winning it in the UK will probably mean more to him than the big WrestleMania win when nobody was there because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, massive, massive stuff. But Ignacio, we've talked for quite a while today, covered quite a
Damn.
few stuff. Um, we're gonna leave it there. But guys, of course we will be back same time next week. Thanks for watching the show and thanks for joining us. Smash the like button, keep liking this video, subscribe to Wrestling Republic, and of course follow Wrestling Republic on Instagram as well. Get involved with all the conversations that are being had on there. Any last words from yourself, Ignacio?
Not much, man. Just hit that like button. Keep on watching Wrestling Republic. We got some great podcasts with some great people, some great wrestling minds, even though they're wrong 90% of the time. But keep on watching, man. Hit that like button. Comments. Send your comments.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know and keep engaging with us. But we will catch you guys same time next week. Peace out.